Children, grab your pillow, and parents, grab your lighter. Make yourself real cozy, because we're pulling an all-nighter. It's a podcast about the fairy tales you've heard many, many times. This time will be different because we're stoned out of our minds. So spark up a bowl and tuck yourselves in. Once Upon a Dime is about to begin.
Everyone has been affected by the tale of this
naughty
character.
boy.
This naughty boy, this saucy boy. That's the name of the story, is Saucy Boy. Starts out with an old poet. And this old poet was one of those good old poets.
And he's sitting by his fire, and it's nice and warm. He's all cozy, and he's sitting there by the fire while it's raining and cold outside.
It's storming outside, and in the fire of his chimney where he is sitting is some apples roasting.
And he's drinking some nice wine.
Because that's what poets do. He's like, if anybody is out there right now in this crazy storm, they're probably soaked. Like, all of their clothes are totally drenched. That's a poor predicament to be in.
And then he gets to knock on the door.
And it's a kid. And he's like, let me in because I'm like cold. And I'm like wet. And the guy's like, oh, snap. I saw the future. It would be crazy if someone was outside. And there was someone outside. And he opens the door, and he sees this naked little boy that is soaked from head to toe.
He's carrying his bow and these arrows.
And he's trembling. And he's cold. He probably would have died if that guy didn't let him in.
Yeah.
And he's like, come in. I'll go ahead and I'll pour you some wine. And you can have some delicious apples. And you'll be good as new because, you're a pretty boy. Even though his hair was drenched, it still had a beautiful curl to it. But he was pale and trembling, but he looked like an angel. His eyes were like bright like diamonds. It's like Rihanna or whatever. But he was drenched. So the bow that he had was probably ruined or spoilt. The arrows, I guess he had colorful arrows in his quiver. He puts the boy on his knee, and he's like, give me your hands, little boy. And he puts the little boy's hands inside of his hands to warm him up. And they're sitting next to the fire. Little boy's got the bow and quiver sitting next to fire, probably trying to warm up or whatever. And he gives him some hot spiced wine. And that puts a pep in his step. He's like, oh, I feel much better. Yeah, so he's dancing around the old man, and the poet's like, now you are a married little boy, aren't you? And he's like, what's your name, little boy? He asked the boy what his name was, and
his name is Cupid.
Everybody knows who Cupid is.
The little cherub baby, naked baby boy.
With fine gold locks and a bow and arrow. Don't you know who I am? That's my bow and arrow, yo. And the old man's like, but your bow is spoiled now. It's no good. I'm sorry. And the boy was like, that's unfortunate, huh? But it's not. It's not broken. It's not spoilt, as you called it. It's dry and not damaged at all.
And he's like, let's try it.
He pulls one of them bows, or those colorful arrows out of his quiver, aims it. The old man's like, wait, he's aiming it at me. And then, boom, shot in the heart. The little boy runs off laughing, and after he shoots this guy...
And the old man's laying there crying. There's this arrow in his heart. He's crying. It hurts.
And, I gave you the best wine and, the most delicious apple. And I warmed your hands in my hands. And I, gave you all this compassion. Why would you shoot me in the heart? But he really got shot in the heart. And he was like, this boy.
I gotta tell all the children to stay away from him. He's going to hurt them.
And then he goes out with his arrow in his heart. And he goes and tells all the children, all the good little boys and girls, to watch out for this Cupid fella. But Cupid is deceptive.
He tricks them all and into hanging out with him.
The students, the boys and the girls, when they get out of class, he would like walk alongside them, carrying a book and wearing a black coat. Trick them into thinking that he was a student. Yeah. And if they grabbed onto his arm, because I guess that's how you solidify the deal, is you grab onto his arm. He's like, I've got her right where I want her, and she's holding onto his arm. He pulls like arrows out from behind him and stabs her in the heart with an arrow. He would go to theaters and hang in the chandeliers and fooled them into thinking that he was a candle in the chandelier. When they were mistaken, they all got shot. He sat in the chandeliers and just sniped everybody with arrows because they thought that he was just a candle. He was very deceitful little. And he would walk around the castle garden and the promenade just looking for people. He was just after everybody. He was not discriminatory about who he was going to shoot with an arrow. He just shot everybody, anybody and everybody, anybody who is an anybody, and the people that aren't anybody's. That homeless guy over there,
maybe it's like
he's probably somebody. He wanted to make sure that everybody in the world knew not to f around with Cupid. Cupid is a deceitful little, so don't you dare. And your mom and dad were shot. Yes, I'm sorry, but they had to fall in love, and they made you. You can ask them if you want, but they would tell you that don't hang out, don't have anything to do with that kid. He's a bad kid. But yeah, your grandma got it. She got it too. Sorry, but she's old. It's been some time. A long time has passed, and those wounds heal, except for the memory of that. It's never forgotten. But at least now you know what a bad boy that wicked Cupid is. The end.
To close the chapter on this episode, until we meet again, and so the story goes, we turn the page to find the end.